grown up, they don't know what is life yet. And therefore, Gita being a lexicon of human existence, they will not be able to understand what is going on. And in that childhood, they can only do one thing, that is recite it well. So I know it very well because as a boy, younger, as young as some of these boys and girls are, I used to recite Veda. Whole day recite Veda and more Veda and more Veda and more Veda. While reciting, when I look back, I used to recite every mantra perfectly under the guidance of a proper teacher, but never knew any meaning of anything. Just go on reciting like that. And then, why did I do that? I don't know. There was some inspiration, some enthusiasm, a lot of energy in the young age, and all of that was channelized into the recitation. And therefore the recitation went on and on and on for years. And then as I grew into youth and the middle age, etc., then I revisited all of that Veda by studying the Vidyaranya Bhashya and all that. And eventually I submitted a thesis, etc., on the same topic. Therefore there is a phase called revisiting phase. So when they grow up, they will start facing the challenges of life. And then they will remember what they were reciting at one time. Even if they forget those verses, they now by heart they memorized it. Eventually they may forget, but doesn't matter. They will refer to the book and then bring out all those verses and try to know the meaning of those verses. At that time, those verses will help them or will serve them extremely well in facing the vicissitudes of life. In this regard, I have a small quote. So Mahatma Gandhi ji told, quote, "When doubts haunt me, when disappointments stare me in the face, and I see not one ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me." It is said that Mahatma Gandhi, he used to take the book and just open somewhere and take a verse from there. Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha, etc. One verse, and then contemplate upon that verse. That is enough to set right the problems that he was facing in life. That is what he was saying. And again I quote, "And I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow." That is the power of the verses of Gita. If only you know the meaning. Of course, they will come to know the meaning eventually. Now they will not be able to know the meaning. Knowing meaning is not just by hearting the pada, word by word meaning. That is not knowing meaning. Knowing meaning means as you face the life and try to gauge the life, try to understand the events of life in the light or the wisdom of the Gita verses. That is the knowing of meaning. They will come to it eventually. So, anyway, Mahatma Gandhi further says, "I immediately begin to smile." The idea is, once you face a difficult situation in life, and you remember one or the other verse of the Gita and contemplate upon it, and in the light of that wisdom, when you face the life, all the sorrow will disappear, and in its place, you will feel a lightness, and you will be able to react or respond to the events of life very appropriately, and a smile will settle to appear on your face in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. So, and again further Gandhi Mahatma says, "Those who meditate on the Gita will derive fresh joy and new meanings from it every day." This is how, when I teach Gita, so I take a verse and then the Bhashya of Shankara is before me, and when I was teaching it, I don't know how many times I might have gone through the same verse. Maybe dozens of times I must have seen the verse. I must have spoken about the verse even more times. Yet it never fails to appear fresh, never fails to impress, never fails to put us on the right track. That is the power of the verses of Gita. And I consider these boys and girls are really blessed for reciting these verses at this tender age. Now I will make one more point and close this small talk. You see, in India, people are very busy with their rituals and mental worships, what is called upasanas, so busy with all those things that they don't find time to study Gita. Generally, if you look at a congregation of people very religious, in India religion is the mainstream, and therefore people are even necessarily religious, but all their religious focus is on rituals and mental worships, what is called upasana, seldom on the study and practice of Gita. That's why you find many ashrams and pithas and mathas and temples, huge organizations, where you don't even find a mention of Gita. That is how it appears. A very odd situation. I don't know whether you have noticed it or not. On the other hand, when you come to the West, out of some experience I am telling this, because I am moving in the West for the last 2 decades. In the West, there is a tremendous enthusiasm among all people, not only necessarily Indian diaspora, but also people from all countries and all races and religions, etc. So all of them, they show a marvelous enthusiasm to study Gita. And the number of people who come to study Gita from societies or communities other than Indian, it is amazingly large. Gita is more, it looks to me, I am willing to be corrected if necessary, Gita is more popular and more studied and practiced outside India rather than in India. And the reason being that the Indians are very busy with their rituals and upasanas, so they don't have time left for the study and the practice of Gita. It looks like that. I'm sorry if I have disturbed your mind by saying that. So the idea is, there was Professor Robert Oppenheimer. I'm not sure whether he worked in Princeton for some time. He was an American physicist, and he was the director of the Manhattan Project, which has designed and experimented with a nuclear bomb, an atomic bomb, and then exploded it in the deserts of Nevada. So that was the Manhattan Project, which was implemented in the Second World War time. Robert Oppenheimer was the director of that project, and it was a very successful project in the sense that an atomic bomb was prepared. In that sense, it was successful. Now, Robert Oppenheimer, he was inspired by Gita, and he wanted to study Gita in original because he got hold of a translation, and he was very inspired by reading even the translation, and so he wanted to study Gita in the original. For that, he has to study Sanskrit. So he went to be a professor of Sanskrit in Berkeley. The professor is also not Indian. He was a Western professor of Sanskrit. There are many great scholars of Sanskrit in the West. For example, in the University of Pennsylvania, we have George Cadona. And in my experience, I have not come across such a great scholar anywhere in India as George Cadona is. So that kind of a scholarship you come across among the Westerners in Sanskrit, Vedas, etc. And one such professor was in Berkeley in those days, and Robert Oppenheimer, he studied for 2 years Sanskrit continuously with so much focus, so much so he became a scholar of Sanskrit, Robert Oppenheimer, himself a scholar, and then he studied Gita. And he was so inspired by Gita. This is a historic thing which is well recorded in the annals of physics history. So they were sitting inside a building and watching the explosion of the atomic bomb, which is at a distance of 3 miles. So watching with binoculars through glass windows, sitting behind the concrete walls and glass windows, because they have to protect themselves from the after effects of the atomic explosion. So while watching as the bomb has exploded, there was a fireball, and when the Oppenheimer saw the fireball, which is the immediate effect of the explosion, and other things will follow, a sound wave will follow which will destroy anything in its path, etc. But in the very first appearance, a huge fireball rises to the sky. He saw that fireball, And then he exclaimed, saying this verse, Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugapadhita Yadi Bhas Sadrushi Sasyad Bhasastasya Mahatmanaha. This is the 12th verse in the 11th Adhyaya. They will come to it after some time. They have finished the 8th. So he exclaimed by saying this verse. And all the other scientists and his colleagues who worked on this project, hundreds of them, they asked, he the director of the project, they asked him, what is that you are saying, some mantra-like thing you are saying, an unintelligible hymn you are reciting, what is it? Then he said, it comes from Gita. It just captures the scene that we have witnessed just now, the fireball of an atomic explosion, how brilliant it is. So when I saw that fireball, this verse came to my mind. In this verse, the brilliance of the Vishwarupa is described by the poet Vyasa Maharshi. And so, this is recorded in the annals of physics history. So, this way, the Gita has a part to play in the developments of modern physics also. And therefore, I mentioned it with an idea that probably a mention of this will inspire these children further, because they are all studying science, technology and humanities, etc. in this country, in some of the best institutions of higher learning here. They are going to join and study. And so they have now the best of both. On one side, they have the recitation of Gita with them, which they will eventually revisit in their life as they grow and as their mind expands. They will revisit the Gita and gain a lot of immense benefit from the wisdom of Gita. And at the same time, they have the best possible education of this country. In this country, knowledge is supreme. And they give maximum importance to knowledge here. The entire society is driven by the love and pursuit of knowledge. That is the beauty of American society. And so they have the advantage of that kind of a social situation where they will get the best of modern education. So this way, they have now the best of both cultures. On one side the Gita, and on the other side modern education. And I really appreciate the inspiration provided by the great Mahatma, Swami Ganapati Sachidananda Maharaj, to all of you and also to these boys and girls in reciting these verses and making such wonderful programs. I pay my respects to the Swamiji Maharaj, and I thank all of you for paying courtesy of attention while I am speaking, and also I thank the organizers for inviting me. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Krishna.
Thank you very much, Shri Swamiji. Thanks a lot for the kind words of wisdom and the guidance to children as well as the parents and adults sitting here. Again, not out of place to mention, as I just concluded introducing you the Baladatta program, in its extension, the Yuvadatta program exactly does what Shri Swamiji intended that we all should be doing. The Yuvadatta program, with an intended audience of high school children and undergraduates, introduces the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and the great scriptures of the Vedika Sanatana Dharma and their application to the life. This is also part of the curriculum where students graduating after Baladatta step into Yuvadatta program to understand the inner meaning and the application of the scriptural indices to their lives. I now request the President of Yoga Sangeeta, Sri Srinivas Chundu, to offer Dattapitham honors on Mahamahopachaya Sri Swami Tattvavidananda Ji. Srinivas. Swamiji, as he leaves, he makes a remark that coming here itself is an honor. Please give a great round of applause. I'm sure all of you are enjoying the recitation and the Srimad Bhagavad Gita chanting. We have concluded 8 chapters and there are 10 more to go. In addition, we also have Great Gita Sara, a unique composition of 18 verses